Is your video freezing when you're using your Razer Kiyo Pro webcam with OBS Studio? If so, I may have a solution for you. The first thing to do is go to your desktop and find the OBS Studio icon. Right mouse click on it, select Properties, go to Compatibility, and if you're not a gamer who's streaming, come down here and select Disable Full Screen Optimizations. That'll help OBS run a little more efficiently. Select Apply and then OK. When you first connected the Razer webcam to your laptop or PC, it should have prompted you to download some applications. One of them is Razer Cortex. I think that's mainly for gamers. I don't do anything with that. The other thing is to come down to the lower right-hand corner of the screen in your taskbar and select the up arrow. It'll say Show Hidden Icons when you hover over it, and select Razer Central. This should be on your in your little tray. Select Boost Now, and that's going to set aside some memory for the webcam, and that's probably the biggest thing that's going to help keep it from freezing up when you're recording a video. And once that's finished, we're going to click on it again. If it closes, just click the little up arrow and just click on it once on Razer Central. You can restore it if you want to by just clicking that button. We can go to Razer Synapse by selecting this icon or just selecting the camera. Let me shut myself off. Sometimes this little window will open up, sometimes it doesn't, and it's just asking if you want to keep the camera settings or the Synapse. I just come up here to the upper left-hand corner and select Synapse, and then you'll select the Razer Kiyo Pro icon, and then this window is going to come up if you're currently using the webcam in another application, and I'm recording this with OBS Studio, so it's preventing me from going to this settings screen. So you have to shut down OBS Studio or whatever application that you're using to go in here and make these changes. So what I did, I took a screenshot. So I'm going to shut this down, and then I'm going to load the screenshot. So just give me a second. Okay, so this is what the screen looks like. And this is what I've done to set it up. So I selected in the center of the screen, see where it says preview, turn that on. Autofocus, I set to responsive. So I turned it on and set it to responsive. The HDR, if I don't select HDR, I see hot spots. I'll see some like reflection on my forehead and my cheeks and around my nose. So to get rid of that, turn HDR on, and then I select dark room. Now I have two octagon soft boxes to my left and right. So I have light shining on me from those. And I have a large 18-inch ring light in front of me. So I have plenty of light on me. But selecting dark room looks better than bright room. So that's what I have, how I have it set now. The field of view is the angle of the webcam. So wide is a very wide angle, and it has a little bit of a fisheye effect. You know, it bends around the edges. Medium looks really good, but for my setup right now, I'm using narrow. And then over to the right where it says white balance, you can select auto, but if you do and you're moving around, the camera's going to start adjusting, and it might get a little more bluer or a little more orange, so like the cooling and warming. So to prevent that from happening, I uncheck the auto and just set the white balance to 5600. So it seems like anything probably between 48 and 5800 will look good depending on your setup. So that's basically just a personal preference. So once you're done with that, just close that window. Now I'm going to show you some OBS Studio settings to help your video look better and the audio to sound better. So I'm going to shut myself off. And this is the dashboard for OBS Studio. This is kind of annoying because it's the screen capturing the screen, so it's almost like two mirrors facing each other. To turn that off, just right mouse click anywhere in a blank area of the screen and select Enable Preview, and it'll turn that off. To turn it back on, you can just right mouse click again and select Enable Preview, or just click on this button. So the first thing I'm going to show you is the mic settings. So right now I have the HyperX Quadcast as my microphone, and to help keep the background noise down, I set it to -12 dB. This is my desktop audio. In other words, this is what's being sent to my speakers, and I can do the same thing with that. I would set that to the same -12 decibels. So if anything is playing like a video in the background, or if I'm trying to show a video, I don't want that desktop audio to be substantially louder than my microphone level. So I'll set that the same. If you have a hard time getting that set correctly, come over to and it doesn't matter which one you select. This menu icon, the three-dot icon, click on that, select Advanced Properties, and then you can come up here and you can use the up and down arrows to fine-tune it. Select mono. I'm recording this in mono. I'll show you the settings in a little bit. You want mono selected. These are the different tracks. When you add a microphone or another, say another audio device, all the tracks are going to be checked. You're going to want to uncheck all of them and just check the ones that you actually want for that device. So my right mic, I'm putting on the first track. The desktop audio, I'm putting on a third, because I'm going to add a second microphone to do a tutorial. So I'll select that checkbox, the second track, when I add the other microphone. The balance is grayed out because we're recording this in mono. I don't have any reason to record in stereo right now, so that's why it's mono. This sync offset. So when you are going to record a video, record just a short one, so maybe 15, 20 seconds long, and then play it back. If it doesn't look like the audio is synced up to the video, you can change this, and you can change it to whatever you want. More than likely, you probably won't want to go beyond 225 milliseconds. If you're using a webcam that has 30 frames per second, or if you're recording in 30 frames per second, you may have to adjust this up to 100 or 200 milliseconds. So in other words, the video is a very large file, where the audio is much smaller. So sometimes they may not sync up. Well, right now with this 60 frames a second, I've tested it. It seems like I can leave it at 0 and everything is fine. But if you do find where the audio and video is a little bit off, try changing this to somewhere between 100 and 225 milliseconds. So I'm going to go ahead and close this. Okay, I forgot to do something. It's about the microphone, so I'm splicing this into the video. So let me turn myself off. The other thing you're going to want to do is come over to this little icon. Let me turn this off. This little menu icon, and come up to filters. So in the filters, the only thing that I'm using right now is the noise suppression. I did use the compressor, limiter, noise gate, and the equalizer in the past, but I've stopped doing that because I'm I'm going to do all of these four in Audacity, and it's much simpler to do. It seems to work a little bit better. As far as the noise suppression, you have two options. You have this low quality that has a slider, and then the good quality. I tried using the low quality with the slider and it didn't help much. So this, you definitely want to add this, and all you have to do is, again, just come over to the microphone, select the three dot icon, select filters, come over here, plus the plus button, and select noise suppression. And then that'll add that up here. If you're streaming, you'll definitely want to add the compressor, limiter, and noise gate. The 3-band equalizer is just a personal preference. But by adding the noise suppression and keeping the microphone level to this minus 12 dBs, you'll pick up much less background noise, including fans or air conditioners that's in the room. And the next video I'll add, I'll do using OBS or using Audacity to show you how to use the compressor and a limiter and adjust the loudness levels for your audio, so that when you take it into your video editor, you just have to do some minor tweaking to get it at the proper loudness level. I'm going to come over to settings. I'm not streaming, so I'm not worried about that. The output, and I can't show everything. You'll notice that this output mode is grayed out because I'm currently using OBS, and it grays out some of the features. So for recording, come over to recording. So the output mode is advanced. The type is standard. The recording path, this is when I stop recording, it automatically sets saves the video to this path. You can change it to whatever path. Just set up a path on your PC or laptop, and then click browse, and you can select the path where you want your recording to be. Recording format, use the .mkv. The reason for that, if for some reason OBS crashes, the video will be saved. If you select MP4, it won't be saved and you'll lose everything. These other settings I just left alone. This audio tracks, I selected tracks 1 and 2 for now. The output, the rescale output, I'm using 1920 by 1080. If that's not here, just click on this checkbox and then use the drop down. The bit rate was, I believe it was 6,000 kilobytes per second. I changed it to 15,000. So the video will play a little smoother. Everything else, I believe I left the same. I didn't make any other changes. For the audio, the default audio bit rate is going to be 160. Change all 6 tracks to 320. That'll give you better audio quality. Under the audio tab, make sure that sample rate is 48 kilohertz. I changed it from stereo to mono. The devices, the global audio devices, I selected my speakers on the laptop I'm using, and I disabled everything else because I add the microphones and everything else in the dashboard of OBS. I've used to, originally I selected the microphones here, but it makes them too sensitive and it's really difficult to keep the background noise down. So I just disabled all of those. The true peak, for the meter, I selected True Peak because that's what's used in my video editor, DaVinci Resolve, so I can get the proper loudness level for YouTube and other internet platforms. So there's two industry standards. One is for broadcast television, and one is for internet platforms, loudness levels. And I've done a video about that in the past. I think I'm going to do another short one. So I changed that to the True Peak, left everything else the same. And then for the video, whatever resolution you're using, you want to make sure the base and the output are the same. And I'm recording it in the frames per second is 59.94. You can select whatever you want. You can select 60 frames a second, 30 frames a second, 29.97. But for my video editor, I'm using 59.94. It's basically just a standard. And that True Peak, that's for this meter. So I'm trying to keep, so the scale of the meter will look different. So I'm trying to keep my audio level so there's somewhere around minus 20 to minus 15 decibels. The other thing you're going to want to do is come over to the Razer and select that. So this is where I add the microphones by just coming down here and clicking this plus icon, and you can select the audio capture, like from the desktop, or some other device. This is for the microphone, and then you can capture images and see the video capture device, which is my Razer Webcam. Unless you're adding a second desktop audio, you don't need to add that into the sources because by default there's already one desktop audio and one microphone. So select a Razer for the webcam, select properties, and then what you're going to do is you're going to scroll down. So the device right now, the webcam is for the Razer, it says OBS video device. Scroll down. The resolution changed to frames per second, changed to custom. Originally, I believe it said default. The resolution, I changed it to match what was in my settings, 1920 by 1080 frames per second. I did the same thing. The video format, what that is, it's it's like the second best option that you could use for capturing the video. You do have other options. It was originally set at any, but I looked it up, and the YUY2 seems to be the best, and it seems to work the best. There's no hesitation, so I just selected that. Or you could just leave it at any if that works for you. The color space, I selected Rec 709 because that's a industry standard. It's what I use for my on my webcams. You could select default, but I decided to change it to the Rec 709. Color range is limited. I changed it from the default, and then I disabled the buffering. That might be something that is needed for streaming. It had auto, I believe auto detect was selected, but I went ahead and just disabled it. Everything else I left the same, and then just click on OK. And that should be all that you need to do to keep the Razer webcam from freezing up. Now, there is one other thing I want to go over, and that's if you have any issues with the webcam not focusing properly. It does seem to focus really well. So here's a second. I use a right now I'm using a HyperX Quadcast microphone. And it's got some settings on the back. And if I hold it up to the camera, it does struggle a little bit to focus on certain things if you hold it up. It's actually it's an excellent webcam. So you see that little microphone, if you touch the top of the microphone, it will mute it. So you can see that it's having a difficult time focusing on that. So it's not the greatest focus in the world. The only better way to record a video or a podcast is by using something like this. This is my Fuji X-T3 camera, and it's got a wide angle lens on it. It's a 16 millimeter lens. And but it's kind of hard to find these X-T3s anymore because they've come out with newer models. This is the X-T4, and there's now an X-T5. These things, they will focus instantaneously. The problem is they don't connect directly to a laptop or PC. You need something like this, like the Cam Link. So you can see that it does struggle a little bit to focus. So again, if you really need something to focus really well and really, really fast, get either a DSLR or a mirrorless camera. The Fujis are mirrorless cameras. So this Razer webcam, this is the 1st of September of 2023. I purchased it a couple weeks ago for $99. If you want to use one of these cameras so you get really fast focus and no hesitation, you're going to spend around $2,000 for the camera, for the lens, and for this little capture device. And tax. By the time you get done, you'll spend approximately $2,000. So, is this a big deal with this Razer not focusing like those other cameras? No, because there's very, very few times would I hold something right up to the webcam to focus. And it does focus. It just struggles a little bit, but it eventually will. If I really needed to capture something, I would just go ahead and use the Fuji camera for that particular scene or part of the video. The other downside of using these cameras is that they're not meant to record long term. They'll get hot and they'll eventually shut down. So they're more of a higher power device than they are the webcam. The webcam that I'm using, or any webcam, is going to be a lower power consumption, so you can leave it running for hours. The mirrorless cameras or the older DSLRs, you can't do that. They'll overheat, and eventually the overheating could damage the sensor, and so that's really not an option for recording longer videos or streaming. So I hope this helped somebody. If you do have any, or if you have had any issues with the video camera, the video freezing up, so far it hasn't froze up at all since I made those changes. I'm going to make another video about helping to improve your audio quickly by using free audio editing software program called Audacity. So thanks for watching, and if there are any issues, just leave a comment in the video and I'll try to respond to it. Thank you.